Welcome to Bookclub no Kiseki. I am Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Hauk.
And I'm Matt Jorgensen.
And the portion of Falcom's Kiseki series we'll be playing today is the finale chapter of Trails from Zero, where it's the chapter is called The Longest Chapter Ever.
Yes.
Yes, that's exactly what it's called. But before we start talking about the longest chapter ever, in a relatively short episode, the most of the chapter's length is the multiple dungeon set pieces you have to go through. But before we get to all of that, how's your week been, everybody?
I'm excited for tomorrow because tomorrow I'm going to go to a place and they're going to take my shirt off and lay me down on a table. And then they're going to press allergens into my skin and see what happens.
That's cool.
And also tomorrow, I'm going to the dentist for probably the first time in a decade. So I'm excited for them to shame me and tell me I'm bad. And then also tomorrow, I have a therapy appointment for the first time in like 2 or 3 months. Because at my job, taking a day off work is hard. So I took a day off work and I'm trying to pack everything into it.
Sounds good. I'm both excited for you and depressed for you that it's so hard to take a day off of work.
It's like we have paid time off and everything. It's a whole rigmarole to take a day off work.
Yeah.
I get entirely where you're coming from.
Yeah, I wish that it wasn't just in general where you could just not go to work sometimes. Ever would be great, but at least sometimes. I'll settle for sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Matt? How was your week?
Well, there's still the big thing that I'm not ready to talk about.
You bought a zoo.
Couple more weeks though. Fingers crossed. But setting that aside, I did some fun things. I played a couple more board games. I'm afraid that if I start talking about them too in depth, we'll be here a while. So I'll just get through that real quick. Earth, it's really good. It's just as good as the internet says it is, and more so. You should check it out. Hickory Dickory, it is adorable. It's a big dumb clock on a board, and mice jump on and off it. I loved it. Stupid production, big fan. Yeah, that's the other one I won't not be able to talk about, so we'll just skip that one. And then I played a video game called Dredge. Y'all, it's great. Fishing's never been so spoopy. Please do the fishing.
I probably won't.
That's okay.
But I believe you that it's good.
Yeah, it's a weird cross section. Okay, that's all. Did we lose Sam?
He says he'll be right back.
Oh, okay. Well, then maybe I will talk about those board games because Bernard will cut it anyway. So Hickory Dickory is adorable. It's a little worker placement one where you have these mice that are like riding a minute hand around a clock to go to different spaces to get stuff. And they got this cute little mice meeple. I'll share a picture in the host chat. And I'm not kidding when I say the board is like a huge honkin' production. Like it's massive.
Cute.
But I'm not the past couple of years it's become a thing, but I'm not as used to cute games being so in depth. Like this was a real brain burner because your mice hopping on push other mice off, including your own, so you have to like order it correctly and it's alternating like orders. And like each of the different mice do something different. It's hard to even explain, but if you watch like a single turn of it, you'll get it.
That's what they say about all the board games.
It's very true. They do say that about all the board games, and it's mostly not true.
It is mostly not true, but this one is relatively true. There's some weird scoring stuff that'll take longer, but you'll get, like, if you've ever played a board game before, you'll get 80% of it. If you haven't, you'll get 60% of it, and then by the end of the first full round, you'll get all of it. Okay, now that I'm done filling space for Bernard to delete.
Cool. This week, speaking of board games, I played Magical Kitties with Scar for the first time.
Ooh, how was it?
It's good. She loved it. She was really mad that the comic book only comes with one adventure. So I'm probably going to type up a bunch of choose your own adventure style things for her so she can play it by herself because she loved it. Kind of make it into like a journaling game for her or whatever. But
I'm super glad she liked it.
Yeah, it was really, really dope. And mechanically, it's about on par with Glitter Hearts. So I'm putting my Glitter Hearts campaign with Summer and Deanne on hold for about 6 months for Scarlett to play some more Magical Kitties and get used to looking at a character sheet and looking at dice and things like that. So then Scarlett can join with us and do it there. And that'll be a lot of fun. I'm excited for that. Other than that, I played a shitload of Kiseki and more of it than I needed to because turns out it's good. And there's a mechanical thing that they changed in the next one that Matt might know about because he's played games from the future, but it's like it's a big deal and I'm super excited for it. And I can't wait to talk about it, but that's not this week. This week we're talking about the end of this game. So we're going to do that after we listen to some of the cool ass music we heard this week. So, last week we reached the point of no return, and if the game hadn't stopped and been like, hey, this is the point of no return, you can't do side quests after this point, nothing will work. If as soon as you walk through this door, there's a ticking clock that will only stop at the end of the game, I probably wouldn't have noticed because, yeah, you have the big, like, we're going to do this, we've found out that they're pushing drugs and they're kidnapping people and the cult is back. We're going to stop them. But like our characters don't know there's a ticking clock yet. Huge on screen. It shows up like every scene. It tells you the exact time of night that the scene happens. So you can tell stuff is going on. But when it starts, you're just meeting with the Bracer Guild and telling them of the situation. And so Estelle, Joshua, and Arios promise to help the team investigate all the missing people. And Dudley, Sergei, and the Bracers all are going to go off and do their own investigating. And the Triple S is like, well, we're still waiting to get like the toxicity report back from Dr. Joaquin, and he hasn't gotten back to us yet. So we're just going to walk on over to St. Ursula. And so as far as chapter openers start, seems like it's just a regular normal ass thing, but it's not. You go to to ride the bus and it's backed up and hasn't shown up in a while. It usually shows up every 15 minutes and it's been like over an hour. So the team gets a call from Dudley to give an update on something, and they're like, oh, the bus has stopped, so we're just going to walk over to Dr. Joaquim's office. And Dudley is like, what the fuck did you just say? That was Ernest, Doctor. And the whole team is like, oh my fuck. Oh my God, like this is a breakthrough of the case. but I had no fucking clue who the fuck Ernest was.
Oh my God.
I had completely forgotten who he was. So if you're like me and you have the brain of a squirrel, turns out he was the villain of Chapter 2, the guy that tried to kill the mayor and whatnot. Since I didn't even remember his name, I also didn't remember that when he broke out at the end, he was super fast, super strong. Everyone commented that he hadn't been acting like himself earlier, and he was only stopped because he got attacked by Zeit. Like, he juked everybody there. When they put him in prison, they sent him to St. Ursula, where Dr. Joachim oversaw him directly. Gunter is his last name. I could not remember it while writing the notes. Dr. Gunter. But so the thing that they were realizing that I wasn't, because I couldn't remember who he was that Ernest might have been like either the first victim or working with Dr. Joachim, and so now Dr. Joachim might have something to do with it, because like he now has a super connection to it, and he was brought up a lot last week. So the bus still isn't showing up, so the team decides to walk on foot. They're figuring it's probably broke down like it was at the beginning of the game, but instead they find it completely abandoned, and there's no signs of a struggle, no anything. There's just nobody there.
But there's lots of stuff there that people would bring with them if the bus had broken down and they decided to walk to St. Ursula.
Yeah.
So it's real weird.
Yeah, it's like all of their flowers and gift cards and gift baskets and stuff are still on the bus, but there's no people and there's no anything else. So they walk the rest of the way on foot, and they when they get to the hospital, they're ambushed by the mafia. But the mafia aren't like, haha, we're evil mob people and we're going to stop you. They literally won't speak. They just have 3 red dots as their text boxes and attack us. Yin shows up to help us out, Rixia in disguise. And she joins our party and is really good and cool. And you go through, and you have to go through basically every single room of the hospital, some of them twice, to either fight the mafia dudes there or to tell the people that you're here to save the day. And as you make your way all the way to the top, you get to Joachim's office, where Ernest is there. And that's when, while playing it, I remembered who he was. I didn't remember the details about him having superpowers back in the day until I wrote my notes. But Ernest is there, and his eyes have turned red, and he speaks in red text now. And he says that his future would have been set in stone, but we ruined it. He says that the mafia controls the prison just like they control the Congress, and they control basically everything but the bank. So he just walked out of prison because no one gave a shit, even though he was literally caught attempting to stab the mayor with a bunch of witnesses. He was just able to walk out of the prison. He says that he and his grand comrade are just using Ravash as tools for their grand ritual. And we're like, oh, so you mean you're part of the DG cult with Joachim? And he's like, oh, so you already know this part. So I can skip a bunch of my monologue and we can just fight each other, and let me use my cool new superpowers to fight you. We kick his ass. And afterwards, he says that he's surprised that we're so strong, blah, 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 blah. But he now sees the truth, and that all will be revealed, and our invitations to find out the truth are on the table. He then jumps out of the window to ride a fucking dragon, which is a thing.
I want to do that someday.
It would be dope. Remember when it was such a huge deal that there was a dragon alive in the last couple of games, and now the dragons haven't been a plot point, but he just jumped out and rode a dragon away. Because
I mean, I'm pretty sure this is some sort of demon. For one thing, it's not near as big as the actual dragon from Sky.
Yeah, and I think Tio comments on it like it's a young dragon or a dragon like something. She's something. It's not.
Let the record show Tio said something.
Yeah, she says something about the dragon, so it's definitely not the big ancient super badass dragon from Sky.
Also, we fight them later and we win. So
yeah. So the team investigates the 2 files that are on the desk. One of them details how Ravash controls the government and the cult controls Ravash, and the other one is a list of all of the victims of the cult, which confirms that Ren's whole thing was 100% a part of the DG cult. And then there's also a picture of Kia in a big swirly glass case thing. And the picture of Kia was taken very recently. As the team is looking over all of this, Ren comes in and reveals herself as Enforcer 15, the Angel of Slaughter. There's a bit of back and forth with Yin, who's like, "Oh, do you know Walter? Do you know Beau Blanc? Or is the Ouroboros doing things?" And Ren is like, no. Like, Ouroboros is basically dead at this point. I'm here on my own volition, and all that I needed was the proof about the DG cult and what they're up to, and now I have it because you guys just read it aloud to the class. So because I have the evidence that I needed and Patermater's fixed, I'm outie. See you guys later. If you run into Estelle and Joshua, tell them that they have one final chance to capture me, and then she pieces out. She also jumps out the window, but doesn't get on a dragon. She gets on her giant robot. And I would like to do that one day.
I just want to have a mech, and I want the head to open up, and I step out onto its hand.
It's a dream.
But they don't make mech cockpits to fit fat people. So I can't ever do that.
They also don't make it to fit thin people, but that's beside the point.
You know, if mechs were real, they wouldn't make them to fit fat people.
Absolutely not. Sorry, you're just not drift compatible with their small seats.
No.
So Bales' CGF team arrives at the hospital to hold down the fort, and it's important that they're not back at the various gates because of what happens in a little bit. So the Triple S goes back to Sergei's office to talk about how Joaquin is the #1 suspect and that they need to find him to stop the drug flow, protect the children, stop the cult from becoming active again. And Lloyd and the team are like, well, if Kia is the key, like Ren said, and her being in this big swirly glass case thing, we need to get her out of here. So let's go get Estelle and Joshua to take Kia and get her out of the country, get her to Liberal where she can be safe while the bad guy is still at large. So they call over to the guild, but while they're on the phone with the receptionist, the guild gets assaulted by some dudes with military grade machine guns. So the CGF, the police, and Ravash are all now under the control of Gnosis, and we have to blast our way out of the city. Actually, I don't think the police are, because one of the things when we're blasting our way out is they're trying to get into the police station. So
the police aren't. If I recall correctly, the police aren't being Gnosis. They're just most of the higher ups and stuff are corrupt, so we can't count on them.
Yeah. So yeah, the team blasts their way out of the city. Sergei and Dudley just fucking Sergei fights with a shotgun, and I know that video game bullets aren't real bullets, but the fact that he's just unloading shotgun blasts into these people, knowing that they're his comrades who are just being mind controlled, is nuts.
Shoots those little bean bags.
ACAB, and that includes Sergei.
It shoots the little bean bags that just do internal damage.
Yeah. The team escapes, but they get on the bridge. I forget where to. I don't even remember crossing a bridge in the game, but they're on the bridge. But the mafia,
I believe the East Highway is the one with the bridge. But yeah, they're scurrying all throughout the city, and they leave on one of the highways, and they're on a bridge.
Yeah, and so Ravash is coming from one direction, and the CGF is coming from the other direction, and we're like, well, fuck, we're pinned. But then Maria Bell and Dieter show up in their car and like fishtail knocking some dudes over like badasses, and tell us to get in, and they bring us back into the city to the IBC, which has a whole bunch of defenses and shit, so it can be our base of operations for a bit.
You know how during Trails in the Sky, especially I think during second chapter, we talked about how these games have really good action scenes and their limited graphics. This chapter has a lot of that, and it owns.
Yeah, it's really good.
And they talk about how the limo is like super bulletproof and fancy and shit because he's rich.
Yeah. So we get back to the IBC, and we have a chance to catch our breath and buy some equipment. I was, as we talked about last time, because I've just been because there's only one town in this game, I keep forgetting to go and get new equipment. So I keep having to like reload the fights like 6 or 7 times to even be able to come close to winning. At the beginning of this chapter, there's a ticking clock. You can't buy stuff from the shop right when it opens. And I was like, shit, am I going to have to do this whole last chapter with crap equipment? But no, the IBC has everything open.
You haven't been going to the equipment shop and buying the equipment, and then going to the equipment customizer and customizing the equipment?
I had not been.
Well, luckily, the equipment customizer person is at the IBC for no good reason.
No good reason.
And he can help you out.
Yeah, when you get there, Dieter is like, yeah, we actually have like a food court of sorts for like a branch of all of the businesses here in Crossbell, so you can talk to them. So you go up to the reception office and like, oh look, I can buy all the things. But the equipment upgrader guy is literally just like hanging out in the waiting room. He's like, yeah, I was here. I was getting some money from the ATM when the shutters fell, and now I'm stuck here. So,
and I have my equipment with me.
Yeah. But yeah, I was able to unlock everyone's orbment. Tio and Randy still didn't have all 2 slots because I kept forgetting to do the thing throughout the game. But now they have them all. You also can, depending on who's your girlfriend, you can talk to them and get a combo craft. There's a guide online on how to get all 3 of your party members as girlfriends, but I didn't do it. So I just got Ellie's, who's the easiest one to do.
You can't actually, my understanding is you can't actually get them all. You can only get one. And the guide, because I was actually looking at it, the what it means by getting all of them is you get everyone up to the same friendship level, then you do a combo craft with one of them to push them over the edge. Then you can continue with the story, and you just load your save in order to get all the achievements.
That's annoying. So
I just got Ellie because Ellie is my girlfriend. Randy is not a girl, and Lloyd is very straight, and Tio is a minor.
Yeah. Ellie is very, very much the canon ship anyways. But, yeah, so, the Triple S decide they figure out that, Joaquim is at the ancient battleground. I don't remember how they figure it out. I think Tio does something on the computer, talks to Jonah or something. I don't know. It's not important. They figure it out, and the only way they can get there is through the car. And the Triple S is like, well, we don't want to put any civilians at risk, so we'll drive. But none of us know how to drive, so Sergey is like, "Don't worry, I'll drive."
I'm pretty sure Sergey and Dudley and maybe Arios shows up at this point too, but they show up and they're like, "We found out that they're at the ancient battlefield."
Yeah, something like that. But
also, there's the whole battle gauntlet with the bomb at this point, which is really fun.
Oh yeah, I had forgotten.
Because you just do a shit ton of combo crafts and totally own dudes, and then at the end it's like, we can't keep fighting them like this. And I'm like, bring it on, I'm good to go.
Yeah, because they're all bunched up, and you got a super rest. In D&T terms, you got a long rest right before this, so you have full 200 craft points. So everybody at this point has one that does area of effect, so you just do that at the very least, and you get all of them the whole way through. So it's great.
And also, there's the important point in this scene where Joaquim takes over the body of some CGF dude, and it's like, give me Kia, she's gonna be the new god. Mm-hmm. And we're like, no, we don't want to. And it's important to note that Kia and Shizuku are both at the IBC because they were like both with us.
Yes.
But then Kia runs out and is like, no, I'll go with you, just don't hurt my friends. And we're like, and Lloyd and the gang is like, we hate this trope. And Arios is like, I hate this trope too. And he shows up and knocks everyone out or whatever.
Yeah.
And saves the day. And Kia does not go with him.
True. I'd completely forgotten that scene, but it's a really good scene.
And then Arios is like, oh, we need to kill the ultimate bad guy. I'll go since I'm the strong one. But then Lloyd's like, no, let the Triple S take care of this because we're the main characters and you need to stay here and protect everyone that's here while we go and get ourselves killed.
Yes.
Luckily, we can retry and make it easier.
Yeah. So now we get one of the few anime cutscenes of the series so far. And of us in the car running high-speed chasing away from the CGF who are all shooting at us in their tanks. But then the old busted up one that we had to go and find the fucking keys because this is fucking Trails, and of course every fucking side quest is actually plot important, so that crappy one is the one that Bales' team had. So we recognize it as that crappy one, and up comes Bales and Fran's sister for some reason. Noelle, they're inside of it, and they drive the other ones off the road so that we can get away. Sergey does take a bullet, but he's plot important, so he's fine. Yeah, so we get to the location, and we're like, all right, we're going in. And Estelle and Joshua are like, hey, we did a whole dungeon puzzle thing, and we figured out a lot of stuff, and we opened the door, so you guys don't have to figure out how to do that part. And you're like, cool, awesome, thanks. To make a very, very long story very, very, very short, the team eventually makes their way to the deepest level, and
Estelle and Joshua have joined the team.
Yes, Estelle and Joshua,
which is cool.
Yeah,
and we see the opening flash forward again, but Estelle and Joshua are also there now.
Mm-hmm. So we make our way to the deepest level. Along the way, we fight Ernest for a second time, and then we fight Garcia. Both
who
of whom
has been Gnosis.
Yes. Garcia definitely was against this will, because after we fight him, he's about to turn into a demon, which is a thing we find out that Gnosis can do to people now. The stakes are raised. And so he's about to turn into a demon, but Randy is like, yo, bro, remember me? Like, I'm your friend. You're stronger than this. You're not going to let some drugs take over your mind. And he's like, you know what? I am actually stronger than this. And he fights back.
I was about to say, Randy's not like, I'm your friend. He's like, I'm a rival of yours because I was in a rival Jaeger Corps or whatever. But this is an anime friend, rival, lover.
Same thing. And so they, we don't have to fight a super strong demony Garcia.
We just have to fight a super strong Garcia.
Yes. Also along the way, we run to a bunch of prison cells that have a bunch of the people that Joaquin was working with. So we very tidily can just take out the head and also get everyone that also did bad arrested. It's all of the question marks of the game so far, besides who killed Guy, because that one notably is not answered at the end of the game. Every other like question mark is just handily handed to us right here, and Lloyd just arrests them all as you go through. Like, oh, cool, Hartman, you're arrested. Marconi, you're arrested. Like,
yeah, every time Lloyd's like, did you kill my brother? And they're like, no, I wanted to, but I didn't. And he's like, darn. Yeah. I'll figure it out someday.
So eventually after a very, very, very long dungeon, that's a really good dungeon. Sometimes super long dungeons aren't very good.
Oh, it's like a fantastic dungeon.
Like as good as Sky the Third is, and the fact that it all takes place in one big dungeon, it's not a very good one big dungeon. It's serviceable, but it's not very good. But this dungeon is very, very good. It has so many like dungeoneering switchbacks to remember where you are. There's the Oracle of Ages puzzle where you have to go through the spinny thing and then go back through all the switchbacks to go through the spinny thing in the other direction. It's the best dungeon of the series so far.
Probably, yeah. I mean, I'm sure there were some good ones before, but who remembers?
Yeah. It's definitely better. It's better than that sewer dungeon that we had to do in all three Sky games. Yeah, so they finally get to the bottom, and Joaquin starts to monologue. He claims that Idios is a lie that the church uses to control people, but his organization found a true God that he hopes to awaken. And we're like, why did you have to torture people? And he's like, because I wanted to, basically.
And Estelle and Joshua are both like, damn, this guy's even worse than Weissman. And I'm like, Weissman was pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's not like Weissman was cool.
Yeah, no, they're both pretty bad.
Like they can both be bad.
It's recency bias.
Yeah, recency bias, definitely.
Yep.
So he says that Kia is a divine child and is the key to awakening his D, which is the cult's namesake, which still has not been said what it means. I think they don't know what it means.
Denosis.
The prologue of the next game is just traces of D. It still doesn't say what it is, and I think it might not mean anything. But we have our first fight with him in his human form. He has some big ass artifact that helps him summon robots. So he has robots that he fights with, but we kick his ass. Barely in my case. In this fight, I died and had to choose to retry on a lower difficulty by like turn 3, like 3 times in a row. And, it was hard, but once you kill his robots, he's not that hard. He disappears for stealth, but stealth characters still have to move. So if you just pin him in a corner, he gets stealth and he can't get through you. So you can just keep kicking his ass. But
I beat both this and the next final boss on my first tries, but they were really hard, and I almost lost many times. And then the third final boss, of course, I beat because it's sort of a fake final boss.
Yeah. So after we kick his human parts ass, he's like, oh, of course, I was holding back. And then he uses his staff to do the thing that Weissman did, where he like locks us down on the ground in electricity field and we can't break out. But we're anime, so we break out anyways. Lloyd basically says "fuck you" and stands up. And
there's this weird thing where Estelle and Joshua are like, "Oh no, he's reading our memories of Weissman and copying his abilities," and I'm like, "Is that a thing he can do now?" And then when Lloyd breaks through, they're like, "Oh, this makes sense actually, because he's only a pale imitation of Weissman's ability." And I'm like, so we're going with the whole he reads memories and copies others' abilities thing?
Why can't he just also know the same? Why can't he just also know the same spell? Like,
I don't know. It's weird.
It's very weird. So after we break out, Joaquin is like, "Oh well, time to unveil my trump card," and he shows that the gnosis that he has is red, not blue.
Oh shit!
And it's implied that this is the one that turns people into demons. So he ODs on the shit and becomes a really fucking giant demon and gets the tradition of the trail's final bosses being CG instead of sprites, and he's a big boy, and we have to fight him, and the fight is really cool. If you're going to make a tactical RPG, even one that's a like half tactical RPG like this one, you should do cool things with the fact that you have to move. And Trails has done this for the most part with spells like being telegraphed on the ground. This is one of the first ones where the ground actually does things to you. So as you fight him, he pulls a Bowser 3 from Super Mario 64 and pounds the ground, and the ground falls down. And if your people are on it, they get vanished, implying that they fell down and they have to climb back up after a couple of turns. So if all of your people are on it, you get a game over, because if your whole party gets vanished, then you're game over. But yeah, so I fell for the first one, but I managed to get everybody onto the middle and survive, and I beat him on my first try. But he's real hard, and it's a really good fight. One thing that's cool is almost every boss in the whole game is immune to all status effects and all buffs and debuffs because reasons. It's a trope I hate in JRPGs, where they teach you all of these things and then you can't use it on the fights that matter. But the final boss is not immune to stats down. He's immune to stats effects, but not stat down. So you can make him go real fucking slow while you guys go real fucking fast and hit real hard. And so he takes barely any turns and you just wallop on him. And I felt really smart for figuring that out. It made him not hard at all as soon as I took out his little dorks and could get him slowed.
I had to figure out a way to deal with him, because by the time the 3 surrounding portions fall, you're just on this tiny little square of land, and he has a big area of effect that is a wide bar that shoots out from him. So I spent some time thinking it was just so big you can't avoid it. But then I realized if I, scoot all my guys to one side Then he starts charging the attack. Then I scoot them all to the other side. I can just barely avoid it.
Nice. Yeah. You can, if you're lucky. He's not all the way immune. He's like 90% immune to impede. So if you get real lucky, that'll clear it. But it's definitely not something you can rely on. Yeah. So after we beat him, he's like, oh well, let me take even more gnosis to kick your guys' butt. But then Rin and Patermater fly in. They save us from getting our ass kicked. Then the after her, she says something like, "Oh, I wasn't going to help, but I decided to help anyways." Blah 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 blah. Whatever. I'm actually a good guy now, and I just don't want to admit it. So then we have a fake final boss that I don't know what his initiative is, but I took like 7 whole turns to kill him, and I never went after him, so I don't know what his initiative is, but it's really really low. So it's basically a fake fight.
He like has attacks and takes a while to go down, but he's not a big deal.
Yeah. So before he dies, Joaquin taunts Lloyd about how Kia's role is inevitable, and she's going to be God no matter what. And Lloyd is like, whatever, suck a dick and die. So Estelle and Joshua are like, hey Ren, we can finally see you, but Ren's like, no, I'm getting out of here. Patermater, take me away. It's your job to protect me. Patermater's like, yeah, actually it is. He doesn't speak, but he takes Ren and delivers her to Estelle and Joshua, because the upgrades that he got him a sassy AI to control him now, instead of being just a mech. He's now a robot. So Estelle,
that was so good.
Yeah. Estelle hugs Ren, is like, it's fine, you're safe, I'm never going to let you go. From this day forth, your name is now Ren Bright. And Ren breaks down.
They don't
crying.
actually say that.
They don't. But yeah, Ren breaks down crying and is.
It's a real good scene.
It's real good. So they all leave for Liberal together, and flash forward a little bit. The Triple S is proclaimed heroes of the city. There's a bunch of new elections held where Dieter becomes the next mayor, and they have a promising bright future. It's implied that like Dieter might have bought the election, and I don't know if this is my outside capitalism looking at looking in on it, or if I was picking up on foreshadowing. So we'll see how that turns out next game. But
I think Dieter is cool and is a great person, because in these games, the most rich and powerful people are actually good. Like the Queen of Liberal is actually good. And Mayor McDowell, everyone in Crossbell's corrupt, but Mayor McDowell is actually good. I think Dieter, being one of the most powerful people, is a good guy.
Yeah.
Watch me be wrong.
There's also a short scene where Hartman and Ernest are fleeing the city, and Ernest has it in his head that he's going to be mayor and not Dieter, and he just has to have Hartman's backing and get the right sort of things, and he could be mayor. And good luck with that, sir. But then we see Kia starts going to Sunday school, and the team is sad to see her grow up, et cetera, and it's super duper cute. And that's where the game ends. We did it. 4 games down.
A lot to go.
So yeah, let's listen to some Falcon music, and then we'll talk about our memorable moments and our thoughts about the game in its entirety.
生きてるその意味を探し続けるそれが生きることさきっと
Anyway, Min Moms this week.
I'm going to cut all that out, but just know we talked about the Tetris movie for a while. None of us have watched it.
Yeah.
Mim Moms. I find it hilarious that the idea of atheism has not occurred to any of these characters. Like, I understand, like, not believing in Idios not being a common thing or whatever, but he's like, Joaquin is like, I don't believe Idios is real. And they're all like, what the fuck? You can do that?
Yeah,
and also I like how they're like, why do you worship demons? And he's like, we don't really. We just kind of think they're cool. We like to use the iconography of them,
which
we're edgelords.
I think is hilarious because that's what the Church of Satan is. They're like, oh, it's not actually a Church of Satan. It's like an atheistic thing. We just use Satan to make people think we're cool. And it's exactly what they're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
I love speaking about their whole atheism thing. They get these different dossiers and that like explain what he's up to and whatnot, but he's redacted all of the important words with the same number of asterisks, so it's really actually easy to read. But the cops are all like, huh, what could this mean? And Estelle and Joshua were like, well, it probably says Idios and true God and the Septian Church. If you fill in the things with all of those, it makes perfect sense. He's probably an atheist. And the cops are like, what the fuck? And it's like, it's not complicated. It's like the lies put by number of however long Idios is, I'm not counting right now, like by blank and the blanky and blank, and they're like, I have no idea what that could be.
Lots of good action scenes in this chapter. I wish we could have gone more in depth on this chapter, but you know, it's long.
It's long,
but like the whole chapter is so fucking good, but it's long.
Yeah, this is one of the chapters that makes me wish we didn't have the format change back here in Legend of Dragoon. Because if you go back and listen to Persona 3, I'm basically summarizing every text box, which is untenable and nuts that I did that for Persona 3, but I would have loved to have been able to summarize every text box of this chapter. It's good.
This podcast would have gotten hit hard with the Kiseki curse, though, if we tried that.
Absolutely.
Because this game has lots of text boxes.
We'd still be like halfway through the first game.
Yeah. I mean, I sort of do that in some of the games I do notes for sometimes.
Yeah. Some games it works really good. Games like Persona 3 probably were not a good choice for it. And Legend of Dragoon, when we made the change, would have been an okay choice for it, except I love the game too much and Maddie loves good architecture too much, and that game is A, my favorite, and B, has really good architecture. So that first episode was just 2.5 hours of bullshit that we had to make a change. Anywho, this game is good and I like it a lot.
I am so excited to play the next one. I was going on backlogged to add this to my backlogged games, and I saw some reviews of it. I saw a lot of people saying, like, this is the best one. And I'm like, that's a little weird to me, because, like, most of the chapters were just sort of, like, going around. And I like going around, but I feel like Sky 1 did going around better.
Yeah.
And then Sky 2 was, like, a regular JRPG. Then Sky 3 was something interesting and experimental. So, I mean, this might be my favorite chapter. This last chapter might be my favorite chapter so far, but it feels weird to me to call this game the best one.
Yeah.
I think... Oh, no, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I'll go ahead.
Okay, Bernard, go ahead. Then me, then Sam, then me again.
Ellie's hot. Okay, I'm done.
Cool.
Okay. Wait, I already forgot the order. Okay, I'm just gonna go. I wonder if there's a number of reasons, starting with the series after this one, where there's a number of divergences that I'm not going to get into, but there's a number of them. And I wonder if the sentiment, because that's not the first time I've heard the sentiment that this duology here is the best of the series, which I'm going to reserve judgment on until we finish the second one. But I have suspicions of where I'm going to land. I'm wondering if potentially some of the changes are not appreciated.
Yeah. I think that this game improved on the old ones in a lot of ways, and it does a lot of things really, really good and really, really cool. But I think Sky 2 is still the best one. And
of the ones we currently played, that's kind of where I'm at too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, it's hard to separate the creature comforts that we got this time around, like free and easy access to upgrading your orb mint and fast travel and better level design and things like that. But these games are story games at the end of the day, and yeah, you kind of just walk around and go to different places. This game felt like a single chapter of Sky First Chapter, where you had a hub world and you went off in the 4 cardinal directions to do 4 different things, and then you came back and had it resolve at the end. Yeah, it's definitely not bad. It's definitely really good, but I don't think it's the best one. But maybe the people who are saying it's the best one are talking about the duology as a whole, and maybe the second game will knock our fucking socks off.
Maybe the people talking about how it's the best one have already played the second one as well, and are like, have another game of build-up of loving these characters, and that is being applied retroactively to this one. Because
that would make sense.
I like these characters, but I don't like them as much as Estelle and Joshua and all them.
No.
So this might be a controversial opinion, but I think just this game by itself, it's good. You know, it's you know, before the angriness happens, it's still pizza, all right? Like, but it's probably even Sky the Third. It's probably my least favorite of the games we've played so far, because like Sky the Third was rough, right? It was, but
it was rough in a cool way.
It was rough in a cool way, and it's not that I don't like these characters, but like I never had to stop and try and remember characters' names in the Sky games.
Yeah.
there are definite moments where, especially what partly because of our more broken up nature of playing the game, where I had to stop and think about, okay, oh, right, yeah. Oh, wait a minute, that happened? Oh, yep, okay, yeah. And but also, to be fair, that's kind of how I felt after the first Sky game, to a much lesser extent, but it was like, okay, I don't think all of that second part is, there's supposed to be a comment in there. I'm not sure I personally can judge these games without the full picture of them, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's also my least favorite, while pointing out that all 4 of these games are probably in like at least the top 25 JRPGs I've ever played.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and let the record show, I host a JRPG podcast. I've played a lot of JRPGs, and these are definitely in the top 25 of the ones that I've played. But I think this one is my least favorite of all of them, but it's just because one was revelatory that, oh shit, games can actually be this good. 2 was the conclusion to that. 3 was the weird arty thing, and I'm the weird arty loser that likes weird arty things. And so this one was more really good stuff, but it's in 4th place of 4 really fucking good games.
Yeah,
I think for me, I probably like it more than Sky 3. I think Sky 3 is probably last place for me, even though I love it a lot. But I do really love the concept of having it all take place in one big city and its greater metropolitan area. I think that's really cool. I like having a home base and just going out from there. And yeah, I am excited to play another game in the same location, reusing the same assets.
Yeah, the next game's already off to a really good start, and I'm very excited to talk about it with everyone. Yeah. Anything else about this game that we want to say besides just it's good over and over again?
Not anything I should say.
Won't it be great when we finally get caught up with Matt and then Matt can just be like, all right, so here's all of the things that I wrote down to talk about when they came up.
See, that's the thing that's going to suck, is we're going to get to that and it's just going to be like me struggling and rambling to like, hey, so I'm pretty sure this was either the Sky the First or maybe Sky the Third. Okay, I don't remember right. But there was this thing and the stuff, and like, it's just going to be me doing that Always Sunny in Philadelphia bit where there's a pegboard with strings, but I don't even remember what the notes mean.
But thankfully, Jimmy will be in the comments to let us know exactly what it is. But yeah, I think that will do it for the week. So as always, this series is a timed exclusive for our Ko-Fi supporters. So if you're hearing this in the podcast feed, come on over to www.rpgbook.club, and there will be a few extra episodes waiting on you when you donate. We now have membership tiers, so if you donate $1 or more a month, you get access to our polls when we have them open, and you get access to these episodes early. But you also have we also have 2 more tiers: a $5 tier where we shout out your name every episode, just like this. Shout outs to Floris, Kaldron, Freddie Rodriguez, Bernie L. Taylor, Aaron524, Anthony Lerma, Fimk, Jfro Prime, and Doho. Then we also have a $20 a month tier where we also will read a 1-sentence plug of your choosing. The idea is for this to be a shout out to one of your socials or something, or if you just want to make me say silly words. Right now, if you're in the Ko-Fi feed, you still have some time. So Eliza Tantavi wants you to check out the Tabletop RPGs for Trans Rights in Florida bundle on Itch.io. We'll have a link in the description, as well as you can search for it on Itch.io, and itch.io is Itch.io's website. So you can check it out there. Our other supporter, Carr, is a dentist, so his plug is not for a URL, but for your mouth, and he wants you to brush your teeth twice a day, especially before you go to bed. For Book Club no Kiseki, I've been Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Hauk.
And I'm Matt Jorgensen.
Toodaloof. Nope. Adios, amigos.
Remember when Fuck You was a big hit and they had to try and make a radio version of it and it didn't work?
Forget you and forget her too.
It doesn't work.
So bad.
And like they did it on Glee and shit, and it's like, no, it doesn't work.
No.
It was a sombering day in my mid-20s when I realized that most of the songs I liked growing up were like heavily altered radio versions.
I mean, some people, all the songs I like growing up are just the Weird Al parodies, and they've never even heard the original song.
Oh yeah, that was like partially me too.
Yeah, I went through that. The weirdest one is people who grew up with covers of songs and didn't have parents that listened to music, so they didn't know that they were covers. I worked with some people in at the summer camp I worked in high school that were like that, where there were so many like classic like 60s, 70s, 80s songs that I knew because my parents were old and I had been listening to oldie stations for forever. But they were like, wait, that's not a Real Big Fish song? Wait, that's not a Sublime song or whatever the fuck. And it was like every time that I played an oldie, they were like, oh wait, that cover wasn't a cover, which is wild to me.
I used to have a friend who betrayed my trust and sucked. But before that, he amused me because he started talking about how Smooth Criminal is a suck-ass song. And I was like, what? And turns out he thought some cover.
The Alien Ant Farm?
Yeah, he thought... I haven't heard that cover, but apparently he thought that cover was the original and thought it sucked ass. Can we talk about trails?
Yeah, let's do that.
Oh, yeah.